Spread lines on a Monday, right here on the early line. It's Donnie right side, and it's Joe Ranieri. The month of March is upon us. Yes, March 25th is Major League Baseball season. March 25th, you are going to be in the depths of Selection Sunday, plus the tournament, and away we go to the Final Four in early April. A lot of these key games are still lining up, which includes the ACC. Joe, if you're watching over the weekend, I know you were, Duke, ultra impressive in gaining a share of the ACC regular season championship. They can clinch it in full tonight by taking on NC State. Duke is at NC State tonight. This line opened up overnight, Joe, double digits. Has dipped down slightly to -9.5 at most outlets in a total of 147.5. Duke in the ACC, how good have they been this year, Joe? How about number one in efficiency on offense and also number one in efficiency on defense as well? Tremendous team looking to clinch it all in the regular season, Joe. But the question to you is, not will Duke win? What's that spread line tonight?
Yeah, well, it's definitely, and by the way, I don't think it's going to matter what Duke does here, win, lose, tie. They're still going to be a number one seed come March Madness here. But, you know, the big question to me is for NC State, who is not, he's been going the wrong way here. But they have been better at home, Donnie, this season, on both offensively and defensively. Also, Duke has just been on ridiculously unconscious shooting the ball from three here over the last couple of games. In fact, I think if you go over the last 8 games, they're not that good of a three-point shooting team, but they're not missing many. If they do regress here a little bit, maybe, just maybe on the road, NC State can keep this game close, Donnie. I don't think they'll win it, but can they keep it within double digits? It depends on how well Duke shoots the three tonight.
Exactly. Let's head up to the Big 12 here. Iowa State going to take on Arizona. Iowa State losers of 2 of their past 3 games, but Arizona seems to have found their mojo once again. Last game out, they absolutely detonated Kansas here. Arizona is a favorite at home at -7.5. Those are the opening numbers, and you see the graphic still sits this morning at -7.5 as well. The total in this game, 147.5. Arizona on defense, number one most efficient team in Big 12 play here. Arizona versus Iowa State. Joe, what's that spread line for you tonight?
Well, the problem with Iowa State, I mean, how they lost at Hilton to a, shorthanded Texas Tech team is hilarious. Oh, I know how. They can't shoot, Donnie. Absolutely horrific shooting. And here's the stat you need to know. They are 10-0 this year if they make 10 or more threes in a game. That's great. The problem is they have not made 10 threes in a game since February 1st. And by the way, Arizona has only allowed 10 or more threes just 5 times this year. And boy, oh boy, expecting them to go on the road to Arizona and all of a sudden regain that touch from the perimeter, I doubt it. There's a reason why this line is 7.5, Donnie, and it would not shock me if we start to get a little bit more money towards Arizona here, because something tells me Arizona is going to wrap up the Big 12 here tonight, the big bow.
And how about this? The IU, Indianapolis Jaguars here on the road to take on Cleveland State. We're talking Horizon basketball, people. Look at this line overnight, a -1.5 point favorite for the home team, Cleveland State. Still sits this morning at -1.5. A total, Joe, which you love to see, 170.5. Why? Because 2 of the worst defenses in the Horizon are going to be on full display tonight. Roughly pick them, Joe. Cleveland State, IU, Jaguars. What's going to be the determination in this one and the spread line?
This is the first conference tournament game of 2026, people. It is are you ready for this? The play-in game for the Horizon tournament. That's what we've got here. That's how bad these 2 teams have been. But make no mistake about it here, Donnie. We're talking about 2 teams that are absolutely correct. Not going to play any defense. Imagine a tournament game, and the total is 170.5. Why? Because you're going to get dizzy watching these 2 teams run up and down the court and chuck up threes, as many as they do. It would not shock me if one team gets to 100 in this game, Donnie, because that is how many shots and possessions they are going to have here. Neither team is going to play defense. If it's 170.5, Donnie, it's 170.5 for a reason. I wouldn't be sweating out an under in this Horizon League play-in game.
Basketball topics, Joe. That's what we're here for. It's March. It's time for March Madness, and maybe March Madness could already be over in the women's game. Not necessarily. There's some really good basketball teams, but this is an interesting topic to talk about. It's about UConn's women's basketball. And if you don't pay attention to women's basketball as much, like, yeah, of course, I think every year UConn's undefeated or has 1 loss. Well, did you know, Joe, they completed their first undefeated regular season in 8 years with a win over St. John's. It sounds kind of crazy because at third Division I level, they play all the toughest teams out of conference and seemingly mow through them. But it's interesting to me where you just feel like UConn every other year is unbeaten. It's been 8 years since they ran through the regular season unbeaten. That was interesting to me.
Yeah, well, you just UConn and women's basketball synonymous with just, oh, yeah, right. Have they lost a game yet? I mean, that is their reputation, but it hasn't been. I mean, they did go, some stretches, even though they've had some of the game's greatest players. They went through some stretches there where it wasn't good, but boy, are they good again in a big, big way. So, and we talked about it with Miami of Ohio. I don't care. When you can go undefeated, I don't care whether you're UConn or you're Miami of Ohio. It's a special season, and it's a special group of players. And who better? Of course, Gino, another undefeated season. Just amazing stuff by the Huskies.
And again, it's UConn we're talking about. Now, understand this. They've had talented basketball teams, both men's and women's. But where do you think, like, UConn would be the center of women's college basketball for close to 30 years? Like, not like Miami or an SEC down south. It's absolutely been UConn here all along, and they're back on top. They're undefeated. We'll see if they can win another national championship this year. How about this, Joe? The new age of men's college basketball and men's college sports for that is stay as long as you want, kid. And when you're a kid, you'll grow into an adult. 26-year-old Chad Baker-Mazara is no longer part of the USC basketball program, the school announced. This is an interesting one because he's changed schools a million times, but sort of gets injured in their last game, then decides he can't play, then has his uniform on, and sits in the crowd, only for his coach at the end of the game, like, we just didn't have enough chairs on the bench. Who's covering for who? But he's no longer a part of USC basketball.
I mean, good riddance, Don. It's his third school that somehow he's, got a divorce from. So, you think you see any red flags there, Donnie? You think there's anything behind that? Not a good teammate. And it's unfortunate because, had they not lost Rice, who was their best player to a shoulder injury in December, and had this kid not been a few fries short of a Happy Meal, they might be making a run, but Musselman right now has got to be going through it because he's their leading scorer. Without him, it's going to be tough sledding to make it anywhere even close to one of the top 68.
By the way, it looked like they were headed towards March Madness here, maybe just getting an at-large bid, but 5 straight losses. Now your best player's like, I don't feel like playing anymore. He's off the team. Not a great look for USC at this point, but this is a new NIL era. Maybe it's like, hey, you know what? I want an extra $1 million to finish the season since I'm the star. No, you're not going to do that. Okay, coach, I can't play anymore. I'm just going to sit in the crowd and be off the basketball team when it's all said and done. Crazy stuff, but that's the NIL era. Let's check on some of those games, Joe, on Saturday. Boy, people have been telling you for a couple weeks now, Joe, watch out for those Florida Gators. 111-77. This wasn't Florida like, hey, we're going to have a cross promotion and play the Horizon League. Like, no, this is SEC top 20 year Arkansas. And, their coach is Calipari. 111-77. This team rounding into form, Joe. 14-2 now in the SEC.
Listen, and they have gone scorched earth, Donnie. They lost to Auburn at home for like the first time in 15 years. Yeah. And ever since that loss, they have just gone scorched earth. They don't care who you are. And Arkansas, listen, had been very, very good, but they look like a deer caught in the headlights. They had no answer for Florida to drop. 111 points in a college basketball game against the second-placed SEC team. Pretty impressive, Donnie.
Regular season SEC champions, those Florida Gators now. Put in the rafters, as they like to say, Joe.
Yeah, I don't think, that put it in the rafters is great, but again, they're looking to defend their national championship title here, and they got a good shot at doing it, Donnie.
Michigan's men's basketball put out a tweet here. LJ Cason will miss the rest of the season after tearing his ACL during U of M, which is obviously Michigan's victory at Illinois, Joe. Tough blow for Michigan.
Yeah, dominant win, by the way, over Illinois. Illinois has got to do some soul searching here. But he was one of their best three-point shooters, Donnie. Yeah. So that's a big loss there for Michigan.
Certainly is a big loss, of course. They play good defense, but that offense certainly high octane here. A lot of expectations on Michigan. Never good to head into your conference tournament / March Madness without one of your better basketball players here.
All right, so we got to talk about the Big East, right? Because that's what it's all about here. It's really the one, it comes down to a two-horse race, and then, of course, what is going to happen from there. So when it comes to college basketball and these conference tournaments coming up, we want to know about UConn, right? What are they going to do? Are they going to win the Big East regular season title? UConn, St. John's bounced back in a big way over the weekend against Villanova. So we ask you, who's it going to be? I mean, who are you buying here when it comes to the Big East and UConn? Are you a UConn supporter? Are you backing them here? Well, it turns out, most of the people here, 58%, think, yep, they're worth backing, and they're going to get it done. The Huskies, I don't know here. Something tells me with UConn, we're talking about a team here that likes to play with their food. And what I mean by that is the market always overvalues them. They're a double-digit favorite every time we turn around, and they never cover games. And it's always a sweat with them. So at some point, they might get caught here. But I loved the way St. John's rebounded against Villanova in that game after missing their final 24 shots against UConn in the game prior. So there you go. UConn, gotta love them. Are they going to be one of those number one seeds? Well, we're going to talk about that coming up here. But first, we got some best bets. So now let's get to our bye. All right, so not a huge slate of games here around the board today. We do have the start of some conference tournament in mid-major level, but I'm going to go with the big boys. Duke taking on North Carolina State. And listen, Duke is the number one defensive rated team in the country over the last month. They are just shutting teams down, and NC State is already having a hard time shooting. I don't know how they're going to score enough points to get this thing up and over tonight. The total was 148.5. I'm not buying it. I think Duke wins. I think they win rather easily, but I don't think that North Carolina State comes even close to 70 points in this game. So I'm going to go the under there.
You know, whether it's, predictive markets here or you're looking at sports book markets here, sometimes you just can't use terms like, oh, it's the Super Bowl here. And certainly now you can't use March Madness if you're in the predictive markets. So when I ask you this question, Joe, the round of 16 qualifiers, what does that actually mean to you? What do we call the round of 16 for the March Madness tournament here, Joe? Do you know what we call it?
I don't know, the best of the rest at this point. Here's 16, the best 16 teams, Donnie. That, to me, call it what it is. If you can make it through the first weekend, that first couple of games, you're heading to the Sweet 16.
Exactly. So we can't call it, I guess, the Sweet 16. They can't listen to the Sweet 16. So, Joe, we'll just keep it generic. Men's round of 16 qualifiers, which, as Joe just pointed out, you got to win 2 games to get to the Sweet 16. And if we're looking at teams that are expected to do that with high levels of chance, that's Michigan, that's Illinois, that's Duke, that's Florida, that's Houston here, Joe. But as we know, a lot of Cinderellas show up in this round of 16 here. And if you slide it down, you're still getting odds on big-name teams. Kentucky, St. John's, Vanderbilt, and Tennessee, Joe. Is it easy to take a contract out and say, yeah, Duke's going to be there? You won't make much money back. And if you're looking at a $100 investment on Duke, that's going to pay you back $109, Joe. Are we going top of the food chain? Or are there some chances for you to say, you know what? Round of 16 here, I'm going to go a little bit lower.
Well, we know they're treating this with these prices as if that opening, couple of days of the tournament is just a formality. I mean, look at some of these prices with the teams at the top, right? I mean, Michigan, 88 cents, Illinois, 86. Listen, if it's one thing that we know about March Madness, especially early on, is that anything is possible. It usually at some point destroys the chalk. So to me, I would be looking maybe a little further down the board instead of the favorites. Teams like Gonzaga, for instance, even though they just lost to St. Mary's, at 59 cents might very well be worth a shot here, Donnie, because they're going to bring the defense and they might get their best player back as well.
Yeah, seeding, which we'll talk about in just a few moments here, Joe. But understand this, get to the Sweet 16. Once again, you need 2 victories here. But also, we like to see where some of these teams were trading at. And as you know, Texas Tech was one of the better teams in the country with one of the better players here. You get one of those superstar players injured because Texas Tech on January the 28th, Joe, was trading at 99% chance to be in the Sweet 16. That's no longer the case right now as I take my little handy-dandy scroller and find them, Joe, trading at 58% now. These numbers change on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, they do. I mean, volatility is what we're talking about here, right? Because let's face it, Kansas didn't look all that good again, right, in their last game. So what happens? Yeah, well, they were trading at one point when they were winning games much closer to what Michigan is at right now. But after a kind of lackluster effort there, now all of a sudden we got a little bit of a discount here on them. But that's going to happen, Donnie, this week as we get ready for conference tournaments.
Top seeds here that you want to look at on Polymarket here. Duke, Michigan, and Arizona all trading respectively, Joe. 98%, 96%, and 93%. Little fall off there to UConn at 69%, and away you go here. Number 1 seeds for the tournament. Not going to win it, Joe. Not needing a Final Four, not needing a championship, just to be a number 1 seed here. Are we going top of the food chain once again? There's some other teams that you figure might be able to crash the party with a late surge in their conference regular season, which will end this week, and then into conference tournament action for the big boys next week, Joe.
Well, I mean, looking at these prices, right, you would think the algorithm in the market is already saying, listen, the selection committee, your job's already done. You got Duke, you got Michigan, you got Arizona. I mean, they are priced as absolute shoo-ins, right? But it's that 4th one there, Donnie, that 4th number 1 seed, which is where the discrepancy might come in. And right now, as of today, it's between UConn and Florida, but could Alabama play a role there? In these kinds of markets, at those price levels, I am looking to kind of short anywhere I can go. And right now, I do think while UConn has got the leg up right now in this market, I'm still looking at Florida. I think Florida is going to be another number 1 seed here, and I think the committee is going to go that way as well.
Let's take a look, Joe. Kalshi, as they point out, let's go a little bit of, vanilla here. Men's semifinals qualifier. Well, that's a boring way to say the Final Four, people who's stepping up to the plate. Duke trading at a 57% chance. Arizona, 51% chance. Michigan, 48, and then Florida at 42. Just to keep this in mind, Florida, one of the hottest teams, winning the SEC regular season championship, clinching that the past couple days. $100 investment. If you think Florida, Joe, makes it to the Final Four, that pays back $239. This is a market that you figure because it takes more than 2 wins to get to a Sweet 16. You got to win your elite game, then you find yourself in the Final Four. A lot more opportunity and a lot more profit here, Joe, in this market.
Yes, there is, but there's also a lot more volatility because we still don't know what the brackets are going to look like, what the regions are going to look like. And I can tell you right now, if UConn does get in as that 4th number 1 seed, good luck to whatever side of the bracket Florida is going to be a number 2 seed in, because you're going to have to go through Florida, who likely should have been the 1 seed anyway. So I do think at this point, Donnie, in the Final Four, we need to start shorting some of these chalky favorites like the Michigans of the world here, because while it's been good so far, they have also shown an ability. Yeah, with the right matchup, Michigan is not invincible here. So there might be a few opportunities to look down that board, maybe at a number possible 2 or 3 seed to get some value.
Yeah, and as Joe's pointing out as well, like, this isn't a best of 3 where the cream is going to rise to the top. You got one game, the other team shoots lights out, you don't play well, you get in the foul trouble, you are out of this tournament, which makes it so hard to win. If you're looking at a team like from the Big East, St. John's, you get a great price on getting to the Final Four, Joe. Trading at 10%, which means a $100 investment pays back $1,000. If you look at a team like Michigan State, who just upended Indiana on the road, a $100 investment, Joe, plays $910. As Joe said, a lot of volatility, but a lot of profit in these markets, Joe.
Yes, and really look to fade some of this early chalk. And again, you don't need to necessarily see this to fruition, right, Donnie? That's the beautiful thing about the predictive markets, is that I can lock in a price now, and all I need is some of these teams to look a little shaky, and there's going to be some value in market volatility that you can profit from.
Joe's so right about this, too, because when you look at, again, we talk about the Sweet 16 or the Elite Eight or the Final Four, the championship here, who's going to win it? Some of the times, Joe, when we talk about the predictive markets, you don't need your team to win it. If you took a long shot and they show up in the final game, that contract is going to be worth a lot of money, even if that team loses. But it's just a matter if you actually hit that button to say, I want to cash out and take my wagering now. Like teams like Michigan State, quality, 2% chance to win, Joe. They find themselves in the Final Four. What's that ticket going to be trading at? 20%, 25%, 30% at that point when you were sitting at 2% here. UConn sitting at 7%, but the favorite, no surprise. It's two teams, Joe and Kalshi, trading the exact same chances here at 22%. It's Duke and it's Michigan, followed by Arizona at 14%. The only other team, Joe, in double digits here for the chance is those Florida Gators.
And again, this is one of those also, these kinds of markets where you can go in reverse, right, Donnie? So if I like Florida, which I do, and I've stated many times, to actually win the national championship, I can go down the board, Donnie, and just the Final Four, the Elite Eight, the Sweet 16. Just keep going down the board, and you don't have to necessarily wait until they get there, but along the way, lock in those prices now with a team like the University of Florida.
And we talked about earlier in the show today, Joe, you're looking at teams that are already underway in their conference tournaments here. Get a live look at some of these teams. Make sure you keep updated on injuries. But Joe points out very astutely here, you got to see where these teams are actually going in the actual order of 1 seed, 2 seed, 3 seed, 4 seed, and how tough that is actually going to be.